The Old Testament reading this morning will be from Exodus 17, verses 1 through 7. The whole Israelite community broke camp and set out from the Sin Desert to continue their journey, as the Lord commanded. They set up their camp at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people argued with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why are you arguing with me? Why are you testing the Lord?" But the people were very thirsty for water there, and they complained to Moses, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What should I do with these people? They are getting ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people and take some of Israel's elders with you. Take in your hand the shepherd's rod that you used to strike the Nile River, and go. I'll be standing there in front of you on the rock at Horeb. Hit the rock. Water will come out of it, and the people will be able to drink." Moses did so while Israel's elders watched. He called the place Massah and Meribah because the Israelites argued with and tested the Lord, asking, "Is the Lord really with us or not?" Our psalm reading is from Psalm 78, verses 1 through 4 and 12 through 16. "Listen, my people, to my teaching. Tilt your ears toward the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth with a proverb. I'll declare riddles from days long gone, ones that we've heard and learned about, ones that our ancestors told us. We won't hide them from their descendants. We'll tell the next generation all about the praise due the Lord and his strength, the wondrous works God has done." But God performed wonders in their ancestors' presence, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan. God split the sea and led them through, making the water stand up like a wall. God led them with a cloud by day, by the lightning all through the night. God split rocks open in the wilderness, gave them plenty to drink, as if from the deep itself. God made streams flow from the rock, made water run like rivers. May the Lord bless the reading of his word.
An alternative life. I think we've been living one, haven't we? What'd you say? There hasn't been a pandemic that reached these shores in just a titch under 100 years ago. But they do happen. And I'm not sure if I told you from the pulpit or just in the newsletter that while I was on sabbatical, I read 2 books. I know that I mentioned them to you, so that might be what it was, Linda. I read The Murmur of Bees, about a family struggling through the 1918 Spanish flu. And the other was The Year of Wonders, based on the history of a small Derbyshire village of Ayam that, when beset upon by the plague in 1666, quarantines itself in order to prevent the disease from spreading further. It's a true story. What I'm getting at is that disease happens and has happened for a great many years. And this we know to be true because we have multiple accounts of disease and virus happening, right? I just gave you 2. For many years, there have been what we call new market conditions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about market conditions and things like that. And I'll explain what those are because it was new to me. Here's a definition of market conditions. Market conditions relate to the attractiveness, or otherwise, of the overall market in which a business, or in our case, a church, in which a church operates. Market conditions tend to affect all, let's say, churches in an industry, although their ability to take advantage of or respond to changes in market conditions will vary. So Do you get that? So we all live under market conditions. Churches live under market conditions. And we all have an ability to respond either to those conditions that negatively affect us or positively affect us. Okay. So let's begin with a story about how market conditions affected one business. Many animal lovers have followed the debate over performing circus animals for years. Is it ethical to make tigers jump through rings of fire? How about to have elephants dance in a conga line or monkeys ride a bike? It's clear by now that circuses can be successful without wild animals. Look at Cirque du Soleil, which is incredible. Is it any worse off for not having costume bears doing handstands? Still, it was a big deal when America's biggest, longest-running circus took elephants out of its shows. After years of reports of poor care and abuse, and an audience increasingly uncomfortable with the idea of animals as sophisticated and intelligent as elephants, living the lives of itinerant performers, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus made a big decision 4 years ago. The circus retired its elephants. And we have a picture of those elephants. The picture did not come up? Oh, okay, that's all right. Since 2016, the elephants actually have been living at Ringling Center for Elephant Conservation in Florida. And the move was definitely an improvement from their lives as performers, but animal advocates noted the limited space and continued use of foot chains. Next year, these elephants are moving on to an even better life. White Oak Conservation in Florida has broken ground on a new 4 square mile elephant habitat, complete with grasslands, wetlands, forest, and 11 watering holes big enough for them to bathe in. Having lived their whole lives in captivity, these elephants could never be released into the wild, right? But this new habitat will be some of the best captive welfare that you can have, said Ed Stewart, who is the co-founder of the Performing Animal Welfare Center. So White Oak brought all 35 elephants at the Ringling Center and plans to bring 30 of them, some of them are too old to move, to their new habitat next year. And the elephants will live out their lives with the freedom they want to move where they want and socialize how they want and eat when they want and do what they want. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, so why did I begin this sermon with market conditions and disease, do you think? I think you're following, right? I think we're all there already. Yes, so new market conditions are and have been threatening what we know and love about church. These market conditions for the church in the last decades have led us to a place where we have declining numbers, right? And no longer can we sit in our pews and await the arrival of new folks into our sanctuaries on a Sunday morning. But sit we have, and that has caused us a problem. Too late have we realized that we needed to be getting out to meet folks and invite them to sit with us on a Sunday morning. Too late have we realized that our infighting seeps through the cracks of our beautiful sanctuary doors and running out into the streets. No longer do people come to church because it's the norm. And we all know this, right? Do we all know that? We do, yeah. They come because a church offers something good and valuable to the life of the community. And we talked about that this morning in our Bible study. And they come because they want to be a part of that. And now one of those market condition changes is a virus. And one of the most difficult things is there is no authority on how to handle either of these market conditions, really, declining numbers or the virus. We were literally all doing our best as we can or could along the way. In a time of crisis and transition, what we need most is innovation. And gee, that is a tough thing for us to manage when we think the sky is falling. Now, this is what I believe because I was raised to believe in science. Until a vaccine is made available to us all, we cannot be as we were. We cannot. But I will tell you, one of the beautiful things we can learn about ourselves comes from evolution itself. God's plan was that creatures can self-adapt. It's actually built into our DNA. And okay, the Israelites, let's invite them back into our story at this point. Those Israelites are now not complaining, but arguing with Moses. And once again, they think they will not be provided for. They ask, is the Lord really with us? You can just see, right? Hands on hips. What the relationship between Moses and God and the Israelites illustrates for us is that something called adaptive change is hard. It's scary to move into the unknown. It's scary to trust a leader. And it's scary to trust that God trusts that leader too. Or that we even trust God. Okay. So did you know, right? So I said that adaptive change was built into our DNA. Did you know that we share 98.7% of our DNA with chimps and bonobos? Did you know that? No? Okay. A study concluded in 2005 set a group of scientists to wonder how humans, chimps, and bonobos may be different or alike. So I'll read. The team found some small but tantalizing differences in the genomes of the three species. Differences that may explain how bonobos and chimpanzees don't look or act like us, even though we share about 99% of our DNA. We're so closely related genetically, yet our behavior is so different, says one of the team members. This will allow us to look for the genetic basis of what makes modern humans different from both bonobos and chimpanzees. As researchers study the genome in more depth, they hope to find the genetic differences that make bonobos more playful than chimps, for example, or humans more cerebral. These differences suggest that the ancestral population of apes that gave rise to humans, chimps, and bonobos was quite large and diverse genetically. I'm just going to take this off. So we come from a large, diverse genetic field. And I think in these times that's a good thing for us to remember and for us to keep in mind. For some reason, humans evolved to become the creatures that we are today. They're exploring that. And luckily, I said, as I was writing this, I was like, luckily our opposable thumb stayed with us through these evolutionary changes. An opposable thumb and the kind of intelligence with which we have been blessed as a species has brought us some beautiful things in this world. And all of those new things meant someone had to think about life differently to create them. So, speaking of chimps and bonobos, it might help us to have the definition for evolutionary adaptive change. Adaptive evolution pertains to evolutionary changes in an organism that make it suitable to its habitat. The changes result in an increased chance of survival and reproduction. And the changes enable the particular organism to fit to an environment. Can you see where I'm going here? I hope so. These are adaptive challenges, or there are adaptive challenges within our life environments too. In organizations, we may be faced with change due to certain social conditions or more recently due to a virus. Like the Israelites, we have all, and I include myself in this, been wandering a kind of wilderness. All of the experts we pastors are turning to, we're trying to piece things together on the spot with whatever knowledge they had on hand. We were all trying desperately to adapt to a new environment, much like the Israelites. Okay, so here's another interesting fact. An avoidance of adaptive challenges, and a pandemic poses an adaptive challenge, brings out certain behaviors that look like this: scapegoating, blaming, and denial of a crisis. And scapegoating is actually found in the book of Leviticus, a goat sent into the wilderness after the chief priest, the Jewish chief priest, had symbolically laid the sins of the people upon it. Okay, he'd send the goat out. The dictionary definition of scapegoating is a person who is blamed for the wrongdoings, mistakes, or faults of others, especially for reasons of expediency. So does this sound a little like what we find in the Israelites' relationship with Moses and Aaron? Does it sound a little like that? Are they arguing with them because they lack faith in God's provision? Maybe. Blame, we know this one well. The definition is assign the responsibility for something bad to someone or something. Moses cries to God that the Israelites are getting ready to stone him. The Israelites lack the knowledge that Moses has, though. There's a brilliant conversation in the Bible as God demands of Job, so we're in the book of Job. God says to Job, "Who is this darkening counsel with words lacking knowledge?" Then God begins his long questioning session of Job because Job has been giving God what for? "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?" God asks Job. "Have you commanded the morning since your days began?" God is not having it. Now, the very last behavior to avoiding adaptive challenges is denial of a crisis. And I have found myself deeply disturbed. Folks, there is no conspiracy going on here with the coronavirus. No matter what a news channel or radio station might be serving up for us. Hospitals were inundated with patients, and 200,000 people have died from a virus. Denying this crisis is hurtful to you, to me, and to all of the people who are grieving the loss of loved ones. And the dead are not all over the age of 55. So what I am trying to tell us this morning is that we are in a time of change, and not as profound as that of the Israelites, but change nonetheless. And maybe it's Barnum and Bailey kind of change, right? It's time to release the elephants kind of change. And the truth is, I'm still not really known to you. Not really. Like Moses and his people, we haven't yet traveled that far together, pastor and people. The theories and the anger and the denial and the sadness can be attributed to our grief over change and our resistance to adapting to a new way of life. And that's okay. That's okay. But if we're aware of our potential reactions, maybe we can stop ourselves and think, is this fair? Does this make sense? Could every health organization in the world be wrong about a virus? Why would the scientific community want to deceive just me? If we tear it all down, if we stone the leaders in science, where do we stand? Do any of us know how to understand a mutating virus? Anyone? I know I don't. I trust the doctors and the scientists who are leading us because they are doing their best with the knowledge that they have at the time. And God tells Job that Job, doesn't know what. What has happened that we no longer want to put our faith in those who have spent years educating themselves about things that we can't or haven't studied? These are dangerous times that we are in, my people. These are dangerous times that we are in, my people. And they are changing times. There's a growing anger that makes me very, very uneasy. And I feel compelled to say it isn't only coming from Black people, it's coming from us. It's coming from us. If we are only asking the question, what's best for me, then we aren't asking the right question. And yeah, I know, I'm about to close. But I implore you to keep my voice as your pastor in this conversation. Every day, people with a lot more savvy than I have are competing for your ear. Those news channels and talk show hosts, they have it all over me. They do. I know. But I implore you, please take the time to read your Bible. Read the Messenger, our newsletter. We put a lot of time and effort into getting that information to you. And if you're on Facebook, like and visit our Facebook page often. Elaine spends a lot of time putting up messages that build up, not down. Doing these things brings God's voice into the conversations we're having. And listen to Sunday's sermon again for a second time. Listen on Facebook. I don't even know myself. Facebook, I know YouTube, and our website. They're all posted there. And people that are not here today, some of them are not here because they don't want to hear my voice, and they are a part of our church. Invite them to listen to these sermons on Exodus, will you? Because my voice has been left out of the conversation. And I am your leader. This truth is hard. The truth is hard. The truth is hard to find these days. But I am trying to offer it to you with the best knowledge I have available. So please don't shut my voice out of the conversation. Offer to help. Offer to help me. Offer to help your church. It's easy to criticize when your view is from the sidelines. Huh? Peanut gallery. I love sitting in there. We can adapt to our changing environment. God built it into us. I read that this morning. It is literally built into our DNA. And we can adapt without stoning the learned leaders. We can. And stoning me will only make a big mess, and I think you'll really, really regret it in the end. Your feelings, I'm going to look at every one of you. Your feelings are real. Your feelings are real. But they may require a little deeper soul searching. Keep me involved in your conversation during these times. I'm learning too and trying to adapt too, just like you. Like Moses and the Israelites, I know that this has become cliched, but literally it flowed out of my writing fingers. Like Moses and the Israelites, we are really in this together. We are really in this together. Amen.